Welcome to the 129th broadcast of the T-ROH Show. It's your host, Keith. Got John with me.
Good morning, folks.
All right, we got some things that we need to discuss today. And the second half of the program, we're going to be basically freeing your mind. People need to wake up, so we're going to wake them up. And it's going to be a little bit of a shock for you, but just, you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. You can always pause it or shut the video down. First off, what we got to talk about here is the foremost of the issues that the government of the United States of America is dealing with, and that would be a group called tactical sovereignty. The legal part of this we got to get out of the way. First of all, if anybody came to you and said, you got to go through a lie detector test using dowsing rods, that's complete false. That was completely made up. You don't use a lie detector test using dowsing rods to join a political party, the North American National Party. Whomever did that is lying. And I highly question somebody who does that, to put somebody through some kind of humiliating thing like that, to realize later on it's a complete joke, that no one ever said anything like that. If anybody says, I said something, Keith, the host of this program, come back to me and ask me whether I said it or not, because there's a lot of lying going on. There's a straw man being created. It's been being created for the last 6 months. Matter of fact, there are audios, clips of audios that are being painted as something else. In other words, they take a clip and then they create a straw man of that clip. Same thing CNN does to Alex Jones, same thing that CNN does to Trump. The exact same scenario is happening. They take little audio clips. They don't tell you the whole story. And they paint it as something else to make us look tyrannical. Like there's nothing but chaos over there. John, have we had any chaos over here?
Not that I know of.
Is any office holder or general postmaster arguing amongst each other? No.
No, sir, not that I know of.
Perfectly peaceful, no problems, no issues. The only thing we're dealing with is chaos going on, and another group is spilling over to us because they're trying to create a straw man. We spoke to the man that went through what they call a so-called what do you call it, lie detector test with dowsing rods, and he's pissed. He didn't say anything about it before. He did last night, and he is upset. He goes, oh my God, I can't believe somebody did that to me. Yep, somebody did that to you. When you can humiliate somebody like that, I don't know, man. Something wrong in your head. Something wrong in there. When you can do that to somebody and act like it's some official thing to become a member of the North American National Party. You know what it takes to become a North American National Party, folks? Resident Declaration, North American National Party. You can go right over there and join it. That's all. Let's do a resident declaration. You can do the rest later. You know, once you get to know what's going on with people and everything else. Now, I first went public in 2006. Every day since 2006, any paperwork or anything that I ever did was twisted, turned, and sold by somebody else. Matter of fact, I did the 1996, April 8th, 1996 cancelatura of foreign instruments. 3 weeks later, I called somebody over in Arizona. They tried to sell it to me for $300. when it was supposed to go out for free. Someone sold me a $10 booklet that said that I could go and get a state citizen passport from the U.S. I just had to fill out the paperwork right. With only it's the application that's the most important. That's what you get. 1998. That was in 1998. But ever since I went public in 2006, people have been hounding me to do their paperwork for them so they can make thousands of dollars and I get nothing. Trying to make a slave out of me. I'm not looking for your sympathy. Don't look for your pity. I don't care about that. Not trying to grab sympathy. Just letting everybody know that. I'm just saying it's a fact. That's what happens. That's how this country is set up right now. Every 6 months, every single 6 months, somebody comes out with some new freaking shit. Oh, just do this paperwork. You're going to be free. 6 months after that, oh, you forgot to handle your political side of it. Here's your political status paperwork. Just do that. Round and round in circles we go. Where it stops, nobody knows. It's over and over and over. It's been going on how long, John?
I don't know, probably about 10 years that I know of.
Maybe longer than that.
Yep.
Then there's the UCC. Oh, we're going to make you a secure party creditor. That's what they do there. Charge you $1,000 for that. You can use the UCC to get your American national status. None of them knew about the American national status until we brought it out. When? 2011, 12?
2012.
All of a sudden, all these groups are going to make you American nationals without following the law of nations at all over the country. Now, what I'm saying here now is going to piss off all the groups. But what we're telling you here is every single one of you are being manipulated. Not by me. Every single one of you are being manipulated by a third party who happens to be foreign. The whole tactical sovereignty movement or tactical sovereignty groups being manipulated right now by a third and much larger group of people. Its leader is being manipulated into the most egotistical, evil thing you could imagine. Being told to do this and do that. Let's paint a freaking, he's being used. We know that. We cornered him last night where he couldn't say anything. Then all of a sudden comes back out. Oh, I got to get my help, my buddy. My buddy that has my back. He doesn't have your back. He's putting you under a freaking bus. And we know it. We absolutely know it. I'll show you guys something. See these guys here? These are called groups not affiliated. We even had to do this. We had to put this list out. This was back, hold on one second. See, it was, no. We did this back in, I think, 2014. Because all these people were coming up with all these little scams and all these little things that said, this is how you get your American national status, and confusing the crap out of everybody. But it wasn't them doing it. They were being manipulated into doing it by people they trust. NSCA.us, not our ID card. I'll open this up and show you what the kind of crap that they were trying to pull. Hopefully this comes up as a, there it is. American National ID card, grand juror. Okay. Non-U.S. federal citizen. Investigator, grand juror, investigator. That was funny. That was a funny one. OPPT. That was all a scam. Ucadia, Divine Province. We know what a scam that was. Privatist.me. Republic of the United States.org. And by the way, folks, we have absolutely nothing to do with the 1789 Constitution. Nothing. We don't claim to even be a part of it. Matter of fact, they would just went into default. We have nothing to do with it. And the 1781 Articles of Confederation has nothing to do with the U.S. Constitution. That's all manipulation. You're being manipulated. Americans Republic Party, blah, blah, blah. Rod class documents. Rob Court of Record. That was just a simple WordPress. I mean, hell, they didn't even freaking put any money into it. WordPress.com is free. Confederate American Pride. CSA Cystic Proof. I don't know what the hell that is. Union States. Michigan Free de Jure State. Remember this one. MichiganDeJure.org. Remember that one. SovereignCitizenship.net. Had nothing to do with it. Peaceful Remedies. American National. Association Sovereign Home Rule Within. AmericanNationalMilitia.com. And if any one of these types of groups or any other groups say that the government of the United States of America said this and I'm here to help you, contact us first and ask us, because we got to get the communications together. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And they're creating this whole scenario. We know who's doing it. SouthernIndependentParty.com, Weiss Paris, National Public Registry, VP.web, Association of Sovereign Home Rule, and all this other stuff. This is 24 of them. AmericanNationals.me. All this came out after we started putting out that we were redoing the government, redoing the original government, and all of a sudden, all this crap started going around. Has anybody ever noticed this one thing? And I've noticed it as long as I've been here. Every 6 months, they got a new process that comes out. It's the new thing that's going to get you out of the U.S. Inc. Every 6 months. It's like clockwork. First, you fill out this, and you got to get a hold of your person. So let's do a what do you call it? Authentication of birth certificate. Come to find out, you do authentication of birth certificate, and the UCC, guess what happens? Your person gets recorded with an SEC as a corporation. Securities and Exchange Commission. That puts you right back in.
Yep, there's 6 months, give them just time enough for everybody to join in, get the courts full. Once people realize that everybody going to court getting busted, then they start a new process.
Yeah. Oh, this will fix it.
Yep.
6 months later, oh, you got to do your political status. Oh, this is your sovereign status. This is this status. That's that status. Declaration of status. Oh, I did my declaration of status and authentication of birth certificate. Okay, so you just made yourself a corporation within the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay. That's all you did. You went right in to where you were trying to get away from. Every one of those processes leads you right back in.
And that makes it legal too. It's not arbitrary, forced on you.
There's nothing they can do.
You volunteered for it, signed your name and sign up for it. So it makes it a legal process. Now you can't even protest it.
Mm-hmm. All of it's a trick. All of it's a trap. Round and round we go. It's been going on for years. Anybody comes out with some new stuff, all of a sudden, they're an expert. They're an expert on the United States of America. Oh, the 1781 was a corporation. The United States of America was created before the 1781 in 1776, which was not true at all. Not even close to being true. But nobody's going to go look it up. We'll get you into the States of the Union. Just do this document and that document. You can bypass that guy. He's evil. He's a dictator. They created a straw man. And every single time, it turns into, I'm a dictator. It's almost like clockwork. They take little recordings here and little recordings. See what he did? You didn't hear the whole story. You didn't hear the whole story on exactly what happened. You heard just their version of the straw man they're creating. Anyone that can sit there and say, I'm going to give you a lie detector test with dowsing rods, and any of it is true whatsoever, not even close to being true, completely made up by the one doing it. That's a sick dude. There's something wrong with him. When you can sit there and make a complete fool out of somebody, and once they figure it out, they're going to be pissed. And guess what? This guy was pissed. Extremely mad about what happened to him. That's embarrassing for people to be tricked and trapped like that. And to be able to humiliate somebody like that, you got to be a sociopath. And every time we come to the defense, every single time, we try to stop whatever they're doing here. That's why we created this list. We got attacked from all kinds of ways because we made this list. We're not a part of that. We're not a part of that. We got attacked left and right. Just that list alone. That list was made a long time ago. Many of those groups have disappeared, and new groups pop up, do the same exact thing. You're being manipulated. Now it comes with the jural assemblies. The hell is that? You take something that happened in California in the 1990s by the guy that was in the movie called Every Which Way But Loose, the head of the biker gang, and has tried to form jural societies back then, and then you combine it with jural assembly today, and it looks like it's brand new, but it's not. It's information that was gathered years ago and combined with something else. It looks like a complete joke to people that know. But if we bring it up, that guy's a dictator, he's a liar, he's a fraud, he's trying to steal from you, he's trying to do this, he's raping and pillaging. He's murdering all over the place. That's what we were, remember that, John? We were accused of murdering people.
Yep. That's been within the last week.
Yeah. Murdering people. That was about, I think about 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, it brought up again about 2 weeks ago, Keith.
Oh, really?
Somebody brought it up, but they didn't hammer on it very long.
Yeah. We're out there murdering people, man. It's freaking chaos. We got guns. We're shooting people. We're terrorists. On and on and on. Lying their ass off. That's been going on for a while. We don't say much about it because it's hard to keep up with. There's so much bullshit going on out there. We were busy doing something else. Since we're so busy working all the time, we don't really pay much attention to what's going on until it starts really getting real big, and we'll say something about it. Say, hey, this is a bunch of crap. This needs to stop. Then it stops, and then it starts again. It's been going on for years. Any documents we put out, somebody else comes out with something else and puts more crap out there and starts this, and it's only cost you $49 a month, and we're going to do this for you. Or it's going to cost you this, and it's going to cost you that. You're going to go around in circles, around and round. And every time we try to stop it, to try to get those people that are being taken advantage of, those people that are being taken advantage of attack us. Because they're mimicking what they're being told by the one who's screwing them over.
Yeah, not $49 a month. I never did see when the cutoff date was.
Nope, never saw the cutoff date and what the contract was. It goes on and on and on, and they'll do it again. However, most of the people that are doing this are also being manipulated. There's always a hierarchy. Okay, there's no hierarchy over here. Actually, uh, um, uh, this office gets paid the same as all the other general postmasters. This office is used to protect the general postmasters. That's it. Nothing to it. Very easy, because that's what its purpose is: to protect the mail, to protect communications. That's what it does. But they always got to create a straw man, and they scare people. They're being investigated by the FBI. We haven't been in. I think how many times the FBI investigate me? 9 times. No fraud, no nothing.
But there was a period in there for about 4 years that we were constantly being investigated.
Mm-hmm.
Every week we hear somebody say, "Yeah, they pulled you here," and our whole websites and everything go down while they went through.
That went on for a while.
Yeah,
No, do nothing wrong. No fraud. No nothing. Nothing's going on. Got a clean bill of health. Over and over and over again. No violence. No shooting people. No murdering people. No nothing. You're being manipulated by a third party. And watch everybody think I'm going to talk about the Illuminati. No, I'm not. I'm not going to talk about the Illuminati today. But we are going to free your mind. So what we're dealing with here is MI6. It's the British intelligence that owns the CIA. Now, this is what I'm wondering. Why would anybody in their right mind allow a foreign intelligence agency to own another intelligence agency in another country? Unless said country or nation or corporation was in bed with that said, foreign intelligence agency. We got a phone call the other day from a lady. Not going to use her name. We got a phone call from a lady that had been living with an individual by the name of Robert Gilman, who claims to be has been in the Tonkin deal back in Vietnam. Says he goes to VA all the time, so apparently he was in the military. Also claims to be a part of the MK Ultra. Have claimed to have murdered many people. Was the head of the Michigan Assembly. There were 465 people, I think, in that group, in that assembly. It's down to 15 now because it was all a farce. It was a psyop to give people hope. Many of them got busted. Many of them still getting busted for doing these sham processes that come from the same individual that claims that he was a part of the MK Ultra deal. Works very closely with somebody in Alaska. Although publicly they claim that they don't work together at all. Yet there's this lady who was living there told us there's phone calls back and forth with him all the time. Back and forth to Alaska. And the source of that crap is coming from that area in Michigan. We were even told that we could never find his name in any way, shape, or form. Never find where he lived or nothing. Never find his address because he was red lettered. No one could ever find anything on me. That was easy to find. Didn't take us very long. I think Adam took 5 minutes to find him. It's very easy to do. He was lying to this lady. Basically a prisoner in his home. Wouldn't let him go. Wouldn't let her talk to, had a son. Wouldn't let her talk to neighbors. Wouldn't let her talk to anybody. Every time they went to a meeting, stole all of her ideas. Cold-hearted individual. Somebody that's murdered a lot of people. I'm saying that he's a source, a definite source of where this long line of paperwork keeps coming from. And I'm sure that they're gonna deny every bit of it. But everybody knows the truth that's been around this for a long time. That knows every 6 months, guys, watch the freaking clock. Every 6 months, there's another freaking process that comes out that's total BS. It's nothing. It doesn't even correlate with the law of nations. You can't settle your states without a social compact. You can't settle your states without a social compact. That's the way it works. But everybody tries to do it without a social compact. We've even stated it in the Law of Nations in prior episodes and broadcasts of the T-ROH show. We've shown you where it says it. The process of the government of the United States of America, which is the naturalization process, never changes. It's been the same since it was established. But yet somebody comes around every time and starts talking that straw man. Like he's evil. He murders people. Dictator. Treats people like shit. It's not true. If it was true, wouldn't be working with some of the same people for a very long time. Do you think they'd put up with it? If I was committing fraud and all that, do you think those people that I've been working with closely for a very long time would put up with that? They're honorable people. So you're not only accusing one guy, you're accusing everybody else that's affiliated and associated with him of going through doing fraud. And they're going, what the hell are they talking about? If I was lying all the time, do you think those people would figure it out? Absolutely, they would. PAGs come around. 2 months investigation on it. Isn't that right? 2 months. Y'all investigated us. Checked everything out. Looked everything over.
Only ones I found that could be a real government.
Went around there for months. Remember you? That was funny. He sat and said, okay, because you weren't the first one to come around and actually spend time learning what we were doing and understanding what was going on and figured out, hey, these guys got it. Yeah, they got it. This is how you settle states. This is how you make a country. This is how a country is reborn. We didn't say it was started in 2010. We said it was reborn in 2010. It's been here for 240 years. But somebody comes out and says, oh, they just started it in 2010. It's because they're creating a straw man to get you to go back around in a circle and get absolutely nowhere. You guys realize when you authenticate your birth certificate, now you actually owe taxes? Because we know a lot of you are trying to get out of taxes. We're not. We're just saying we know a lot of you do. Because you're trying to make a living. We get it. You're getting taxed to death, and you're trying to make a living. Completely understandable. Doesn't mean you're anti or tax protester. It just means you're trying to eat. We get it. But y'all realize when you authenticate your birth certificate, it turns your person into a corporation, register with the SEC, and now you do legally owe taxes. That was the whole point, to get you right back into it again. But no. You're going to get a hold of your person because of some freaking rule in Minnesota. See, he's lying. It's in the rules. Yeah, and then they said, no, we're not going to do this anymore because they figured out, the people in Minnesota figured out that you were being scammed, and you blame them for trying to hide your way to freedom. And then when you go to get a state citizen passport, the Department of State in the U.S. is turned into a straw man. Well, they'll get some backlash because they don't want to do it. They don't want you to have your freedom. It'll cost you money to do it, but we're there for you. We're there right with you. and we get any backlash, we're going to go after them for you. They don't put out state passports. They only have one passport. That's it. Well, actually, two. One is a USA passport. The other one's a U.S. national passport. That's it. It just says different line. It's right on the left side. I've seen the U.S. national passports, and I've seen the USA passports. Then they say nationality, United States of America, which is no such thing. You can't have a nationality called United States of America. It has to be American or something like that. That's the only passports they put out. So guess what they do in the State Department? My guess is U.S. Department of State. My guess is they have a pool. When these things come in, they go, watch, we'll put this back. There's no such thing. Then they'll come back with this paperwork. Hey, guys, watch this, man. This is this one. They're probably making a joke out of it. And then guess what they end up doing? They end up giving you what you originally paid for, which was a U.S. passport. And you think that you got somewhere because they fought for you. And then the U.S. Department of State finally told the truth because they got to them. Finally told the truth and relented and gave you a USA passport. But because it says that on the application that you're a state citizen, that's what makes that valid. That's actually this. No, it's a freaking U.S. passport. That's all it is. That's what you paid for, so they give it to you. You ended up paying $500 for a passport that cost you $150 or less, whatever it cost them. That's all it is. That's what's really going on. We've seen the letters back and forth. It's a joke. And they don't give out state citizenship passports. If they did, it would be the states that do their own passport. You still don't have any nationality. You're still not a part of any state. You're still an inhabitant under Section 213, a foreigner. And that's it. Nothing to it. Nothing more we can say about that. So let's go ahead, folks. If you are not ready to wake up, just go ahead and stop the recording now and move on with your life. What you're going to find out right now is going to change your mind. It's going to change the way you think. We're going to do this. This won't take very long. Okay, in accordance with history that we have access to today, blasphemy laws never existed since the beginning of time and never will under any real authority whatsoever. In accordance with some of the in-depth research by John D. Pratt. See, we didn't steal somebody else's research. We actually give him credit for the research. You see all that? You see that, folks? We don't steal it. We gave him credit. The blasphemy laws were added through the interpretation of man for control of the relationship by and between anyone and their creator. This is in the Reign of the Heaven Society post, by the way. It's under blasphemy laws never existed. It says further, the blasphemy laws were created for the control of speech, for the purpose of oppression, and the ability to murder people with the consent of the populace in the name of their God. The lack of blasphemy laws also renders churches, meaning the buildings, useless and causes preachers and priests to have to support themselves rather than being supported by others, which is another form of slavery. You got a preacher that comes into town. This was also back in the 1800s. You had to feed the sumbitch. You had to freaking give him firewood. You had to build a place for him. All this other crap, and the guy just sat there and then worked for 2 hours on Sunday and sat on his ass the rest of the week. That's slavery, guys. These realities may seem harsh. However, these scenarios have been created through blasphemy laws that were never issued in the form of a command from the original creator of all. Therefore, the Reign of the Heaven Society Temple adopted the original 7 laws, and the government of the United States of America agreed to adopt and enforce the original 7 laws, which are reasonable and very non-intrusive. The Gentiles are under the original 7 laws in accordance with the new covenant. Anyone attempting to divert this fact will result in an international trespass and shall be charged accordingly. These are the original 7 laws. Go and read the research for yourself before coming to any conclusions. That will bring you to this page. There is a Hebrew tradition after the great flood when God covenanted with Noah. He also gave 7 laws which were to, I'm sure he meant be obeyed by all of his posterity. This means that they were to be obeyed by all mankind living today. That is an important enough claim that it seems worth researching to discover either the truth or falsehood of that assertion. If all of us are going to be judged by our obedience to those laws, it seems imperative to know that we will be on our final test. What will be on our final test? This article first reviews the tradition and the support from the Bible and from ancient laws. Finally, after concluding that there is indeed compelling evidence that such laws existed, a composite list of what those original laws might have been is proposed. Okay, so what they did, I'm going to give you a synopsis about this. Okay, what they did was they created 7 laws here. These were not the 7 laws. They had courts, didn't even have anything to do with the 7 laws. Idolatry, blasphemy, had nothing to do with them. Sexual immorality, murder, stealing, limb of a living animal. This was a interpretation that benefited people today. Okay? The main one was blasphemy. Do not curse God or use his name profanely. That was made up. The first thing one might notice is a great similarity to the 10 Commandments of Moses. These were called the Noahide laws here. That should not be surprising because each nation would be able to add more laws as long as those original 7 stayed intact. For comparison, here are the 10 Commandments. No other gods before them, idolatry, blasphemy, Sabbath, parents, murder, adultery, stealing, witnessing, coveting. Let's compare the 2 lists. First, note that the first of the 7 laws is essentially equivalent to the 9th of the 10 Commandments. Because both are about not lying as a witness, as in a court. If so, then we see that 6 of the 7 are included in the 10. The main differences are that the 7 include a prohibition against consuming living blood, and the 10 concluded some additional commandments. Such similarities are to be expected, because the 10 should be built from the foundation of the 7, adding some new commandments which only apply to the descendants of Israel, Jacob. That is, after the flood, many of the descendants of Noah each founded new nations. Originally, nations were simply extended families. Each nation could enact its own laws, as long as those laws stayed within the guidelines of those given to Noah for all mankind. In particular, the nation of Israel, born when the Lord was, through Moses, delivered them from bondage in Egypt, was given the law of Moses. The 10 Commandments were a summary of that law, but were only intended to be binding on Israel. Thus, we expect the 10 Commandments to be an extension of any given laws of Noah, to Noah. As an example, a special commandment just for Israel, Sabbath day, helps. Hebrews stand out as a nation and help identify when they are being faithful and obeying the Lord. It is clearly not a commandment to all mankind. For Christians, the weekly day of worship is to be Sunday for the first day of the week in remembrance of the resurrection of Jesus. Some of them say, oh, those are sun worshiping laws. Okay, whatever. Just listen. As for the consuming blood, even though such was not forbidden in the 10 Commandments, that prohibition was included elsewhere in the law of Moses. No soul shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat blood. Thus, all of the tradition 7 laws are included in the law of Moses, traditional. Now let us turn to other sources to see if there's any reason to believe that 7 laws were actually given to Noah. Let us begin with the Bible. 2 of the traditional 7 laws are given in the book of Genesis as commandments to Noah right after the flood. Moreover, it is implied that they are both for him and his descendants in Genesis 9:1. I checked on that. It's true. That is a strong witness that at least some of the laws were given. Now the question becomes, how many laws were given and what were the others? If all the 7 were given in the Bible, there would be no need for this article. One law given to notice was but flesh with the life thereof, of which is the blood thereof shall you not eat. Has an exact match for the one interpretation of the 7 laws. It is such an unusual and unexpected law that it is a strong witness that both that biblical law and the Talmudic tradition have a common origin. Another law recorded in the Bible was given to Noah, whose so sheddeth a man's blood, by a man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. This is the only and exact match with one of the 7 laws, as well as one of the 10 Commandments. It also specifies a penalty of being a capital punishment. Thus, any country which has laws not requiring the death penalty for murder, is breaking the law given by the Lord to Noah. This law is not dependent on Hebrew oral tradition, but is stated right in the book of Genesis. Okay, so when everybody got rid of the death penalty, you're violating the law. That's the way it works. So what did the Pope do? He came over and started saying, "Oh, you got to get rid of capital punishment." Oh yeah, so we're in violation of the law. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. It should also be noted that there was another law given to Noah and his sons before either of those two commandments. It has apparently been entirely overlooked in research in the subject. The first law recorded in Genesis, which was given to Noah after the deluge, was, "And God blessed his sons, Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." How can this commandment be omitted from the list when it was given to Adam? Moreover, it is a verse wherein it is made clear that these commandments were intended for all of Noah's posterity. Obviously, Noah and his three sons were not being commanded to repopulate the entire earth by themselves. This omitted law is discussed below in the section proposed restored set of 7 laws. Okay, I'm going to skip this one here. Well, I'll read it here, and then you got to read this one. Another more subtle argument favoring the existence of idolatry being one of the 7 laws is the following. It has always been puzzling to me that the second of the 10 commandments was even necessary. That is, if one follows the first commandment of not worshiping any other gods except the one true God who delivered Israel from the bondage of Egypt, then wouldn't the second commandment, not to worship idols, be superfluous? It has always seemed that the first commandment subsumes the second, if its intent was not to worship idols. The existence of 7 laws of Noah could help explain the reason for 2 separate commandments. The law forbidding idolatry was already in one of the 7, but with Moses, a new commandment limited worship even further was being added. One of the best scriptural evidence supporting the 7 laws is in the book of Acts. There were disputes about whether a Gentile being baptized in newly founded Church of Christ needed to follow all the laws of Moses or not. At first, the gospel was not even taught to Gentiles until Peter had a vision that the time had come to teach Cornelius, the first Gentile to be baptized. But what law should Gentiles obey after baptism? The Apostle Paul maintained that it was not necessary for them to live the law of Moses, which was only for Israelites, and in any case had been fulfilled in Christ. So it didn't really matter, right? At first official hearing where the issue was decided, James, the brother of Christ, and the head of the Jerusalem church, probably what would be called today the presiding bishop, finally decided in favor of Paul. And he declared, "Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them and from among the Gentiles which from among the Gentiles are turned to God. But what we write unto them, that they abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, from blood." How did James go about deciding the list of prohibitions in his book? Nolan explains that to understand that ruling is it helps to know that at the time there were 2 distinct types of converts to Judaism. We all know Judaism didn't exist back then, but he's translating it to today. The first in full conversion, which involved accepting circumcision, the entire law of Moses. The second type is simply to agree to live by the 7 laws of Noah. And then understood from the Talmud, Jews were not to have no dealings at all with Gentiles because they worship idols and many gods. If a Roman made a huge leap of faith to abandon the Roman gods to worship the one true God, then the Jews referred to the second type of convert as God-fearing. That's where that came from, by the way. Or as James said, turn to God. Jews could have interaction with God-fearing Gentiles without being polluted. This must have been the case both with the Roman centurion Cornelius, who feared God, as well as the centurion who not only had the faith to have Jesus heal his servant from afar, but also had even built a synagogue for the Jews. James is apparently simply listing a few of the familiar laws of Noah and as to what the requirement were to be a God-fearing Gentile. If so, then his decision was the rules for converting to Christianity could be basically the same as for that level of conversion to Judaism. Thus, the book of Acts provides evidence that the laws of Noah were known to the apostles of Jesus Christ and were considered to be authentic. This is a huge point for support for both the existence of such laws of Noah as well as their acceptance as having been accurately preserved by oral tradition. This goes back to the code of Namu. They did the same exact thing. This was only a couple of times. This was right after the Great Flood. They were going by the laws of this original 7 laws. You can read the rest. Here's the problem. Notwithstanding good support of the existence of Noah's 7 laws, the strong evidence of similarities found in ancient legal codes dating to that period, there appear to be problems with one of the laws given in the traditional Hebrew view. That is not surprising because they claim to have been preserved by an oral tradition. Anyone who has played the game of whispering a sentence around a circle of people in order to laugh at how much it gets changed is familiar with the possibility of details being altered and misunderstood. More than that, there is a possibility of some of the laws having been entirely lost. The most consistent part of the tradition is one which would be easy to preserve, was that there were originally 7 laws. Thus, if some were lost, then others would need to be invented to fill their slots to make a total of 7, representing completeness. Let us now look at some problems to see if remedies can be proposed. The third in traditional Hebrew laws, which forbids blasphemy against God, is problematic. If we're correct, then God would be brought into all the laws of all nations. Do all the nations even know about God? Let's consider the implication of accepting this law. Many religions are polytheistic, pagan, or even atheistic. Some countries are called the heathen nations in Scripture. God doesn't seem to have a problem with them because the judgment will be tolerable for them. In fact, they can rise in the first resurrection. Indeed, worshiping the one true God is the only requirement to enter the highest celestial kingdom of the 3 kingdoms of heaven. Now, this gets into the Book of Mormon and all that. So, where's the problem? Blasphemy. It was never in the original 7 laws. That was man-made. In the law of Moses, that's where it was problematic. And I think that was one of the sins that Moses couldn't go into the promised land for, because blasphemy didn't exist. It was something they created. It was also the law that was used against Yahushua when the Pharisees tore his little dress that he had, claiming he committed blasphemy. So therefore, he deserved to die. That's what got him killed. That law didn't exist. These were the original 7 laws. You can go in and read this. You can just, all you got to do is go here to this section, and you have 2 links to it. Proposed correction. And he goes into the correction. Proposed original 7. Idolatry, families, adultery, blood, stealing, murder, witnessing. Do not worship idols, married to have children, do not commit adultery, do not consume blood, do not steal, do not murder, do not bear false witness. If you read the whole thing, the evidence is compelling that there was indeed 7 laws given to Noah after the great deluge. Talk about the flood. To be observed by all nations, which sprang up among his descendants. Several of the 7 laws traditionally accepted by Judaism coincide with the laws of the 10 Commandments and also from the code of Namu, which are the oldest laws known in history, dating back to just a few hundred years after the flood. Examination of the traditional laws shows both that one that is recorded in Genesis has been omitted, and one was added, which does not seem possible to be correct. Thus, simply replacing the correct one, blasphemy, with the missing one, multiply and replenish the earth, produces a proposed list for the original 7 laws of Noah, given for all mankind as commandments from God. Right there. We took that was taken out. He took it out. That was his proposal. I accept that proposal, and I think everybody else did too when they read this, or it was read to them. That being the case, if you do not have a social compact that created the state, what state do you have there? Today, people would call that a corporation. Just a corporation or a trust. Could be both. Trust owns a corporation. But the original state is still sitting there. And the people just sit there and do no social compact to create that state or become a part of it and become signatories to it. Of which those signatories are it is commanded at those signatories are protected by police and protected by the military. That's what their job is. That's why they exist. When you don't have those in place, guess what you have? Nothing. Other than blasphemy laws. So, folks, what you have here is this. An offense is a violation or breaking of a social or moral rule, transgression, and a sin. That's religion. You were raised in and under blasphemy laws. Everything's an offense. You offended me. I'm upset. This is so offensive. Traffic offense. He committed the offense of murder. It's blasphemy law. They're using blasphemy to take you over. You can't speak out against the United States. That's blasphemy. You can't challenge the United States. That's blasphemy. If you don't follow the U.S. Constitution, that's denying Christ himself, because that was divinely inspired by Jesus Christ. Blasphemy. We've heard all those statements. Not the word blasphemy, but all those statements. You must be of the devil if you're against Jesus. If you deny the U.S. Constitution, which was divinely inspired by Jesus Christ, then you are of the devil. That's a blasphemy law. I've heard all of it. Any woman in charge of a temple, that's the devil's ground. Burn them. You were raised under blasphemy laws, and they get worse and worse. They're disguised as communism, socialism, any other kind of ism, capitalism, all of it. But you were raised in it, so you don't know the difference. When the original 7 laws, because the violation or breaking of a social or moral rule, transgression, and a sin, burn them. That's what you were raised under. Your whole freaking life. You were taught those in school. You've offended me. Kick him out. Close his bank account. Put him out of business. Starve him out. He's offensive. His speech is offensive. It's hidden under communism. But really what it is, guess what? Guess who came up with the blasphemy laws, folks? Oh, I don't know. Those who call themselves Jews but are not, and are of the synagogue of Satan? Isn't that what he said? That's what he did. It was the synagogue of Satan that created them. The blasphemy laws. That was the sin of Moses and why he couldn't go into the promised land. Never could figure out what he sinned about. What the sin was. He created a law that didn't exist. It never existed. So obviously he got, what do you call it? He was deceived. Like many men do. So if you figure it out, and you realize what's going on, and you realize that our straw men are there when you go to the details, because the devil's in the details, right? When you go to those laws and you figure out you're not a part of a social compact and go to the law of nations, you realize you cannot create a state. And you got other people saying, oh, that's insurrection and rebellion. No, what you're saying is that's blasphemy. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to enforce blasphemy laws. Insurrection and rebellion. It's blasphemy. Kill him, burn him, hang him. Put him in jail for the rest of his life. Let him know who's powerful here. The blasphemy laws are trying to be brought in officially. They've already been here for a long time. But lawyers enforce blasphemy laws. Committed offense against the state. An offense. He offended the state. It's blasphemy. Every statute in existence is under blasphemy laws. You have been manipulated. You have been trained to accept all these things. Why do you think that the more crap that you're seeing, you don't do anything about? You don't get up and get upset about it. You don't even, there's no open up in arms. It's because you were trained and you've been subjected to blasphemy laws your whole life. That's normal to you. Burn those people in Waco, Texas. They have committed blasphemy against the United States. Burn them. 80-something people. Let's burn the children too. Let's kill grandma. Shoot her. They deserve that because they challenged the might and authority of the God of weapons. Blasphemy. And let's make the leader out to be a pedophile. So everybody goes, burn them, burn them. Got mob rule. Blasphemy laws are basically mob rule because there is no civil society that's been created through social compact. None whatsoever. When you try to create a social compact in the civil society, blasphemy! How can dare you? You challenge the authority and power. It's all based on ego. Ego is your evil side. Ego is your synagogue of Satan within your heart that's lying to you every day. That's what ego is. It's all based on it. You challenge this. How dare you? We get challenged all the time. Not a big deal. Matter of fact, we had one lady come in and grilled us for 3 hours till she was convinced that we weren't lying to her. Because every question she had was detailed in the answer. We gave her grave details in the answers. Didn't mind being questioned. Didn't mind spending the time doing it. Turns out to be a great lady who loves freedom, loves truth, the whole thing. And willing to put her life on the line because of it. She doesn't cower and ask somebody else to do that for her. That's what it's all about, folks. You've been raised under blasphemy laws, and that's why you have all of this chaos going on. In every Islamic country that deals with blasphemy, there's constant chaos all the time. Wars and rumors of wars. It never ends. Now you understand that prophecy. There will be wars and rumors of wars because you are being raised under blasphemy laws under no civil society whatsoever, and there is no standing on anything. Bunch of corporations running around hitting blasphemy laws. You're being forced to accept the most hideous of things under blasphemy laws. How dare you speak out against those people? Burn them. Deplatform them. Take their bank account away from them. Make them starve. Deperson them. Or unperson them, I guess they call it. It's happening every day. This chaos is normal under blasphemy laws. This is every day. It never ends because you have only a very few that have created a civil society and have rules and have honor. But yet a straw man's created about them. They're evil. They're disgusting. We have nothing to do with the United States. That particular United States right there, the 1789. Nothing to do with them at all. We are as foreign from them as China. We are non-citizen, non-resident aliens to the United States of America. That's the lowercase t, 1789. Coming out of their own courts. They said it, not us. So any blasphemy agent coming from MI6 that starts telling you that, oh, they're violating its insurrection and there's, this is a whole other version of history. coming from a man who never ends a sentence. So you see, folks, you're not going to break anything up. MI6 is not going to break anything up because everybody that's here and everybody that's in a social compact is not under some kind of delusion. They're all voluntarily here. They want to be here because they've been through all the crap that you've been through. How can you use their documents to get out of their system? That's the one question we got from one of them, one of the signatories. How can you use their documents to get out of their system? It's designed to keep you in. And they're exactly right. It is designed to do that by MI6, a foreign intelligence agency. It's been getting worse and worse since we did this. Right on the front page. The government of the United States of America and the American National Union of the United States of America declares independence from the British Empire. That was done on 1/26/2018 when we realized there was a British-American Union. And the British were involved. The British have never left you alone. Ever. You're thinking England. Well, this British is everywhere. It's part of the NWO, New World Order. It's part of the Illuminati. It's part of all that. And they're trying to control the world under the blasphemy laws that never existed from the Most High. The Most High never created those. Ever. They're creating authority that doesn't exist. You speak out against Islam, you're going to die. We're going to take your head. That's blasphemy. It's very dangerous to speak out against the Catholic Church. You might go to hell. Might not get a papal blessing. Oh my God. I'll take my chances. That clear it up for everybody there, John? Are we doing all right here? Can we end the 129th broadcast of the T-ROH show? Anything we're missing?
Okay. What was the question?
Is there anything else that we need to cover?
No, sir, not that I know of at this time.
Okay, we'll go into further, going further with Robert Gilman later on and make this show a little bit too long.
Yes, sir, that's what I said. Not at this time.
Right.
We've got more stuff, but it is not the proper time to put it in on the kind of time limitations.
All right, we'll put a few warning signs, things to look for. How's that? Somebody claims to be an American national. If they don't have an oath or are not a part of a social compact, they're not an American national. They have not claimed a nationality. That's a MI6 psyop. That's what that is. Anybody that claims anything without a social compact to create the state and the nation, which is very clear in the Law of Nations, by the way, that's an MI6 op. If there is anything that's being said and you don't come to the source, you're listening to an MI6 psyop. You can come on the committee call. If somebody can put the committee call number on there and ask questions. Did you guys say this? Did you guys say that? We'll tell you whether we did or not. We'll give you the whole story and an in-depth answer. That way we can get rid of this straw man. Anybody that tells you that you have to take a lie detector test with dowsing rods, that's a lie. Nobody ever said that. Nobody gets involved in satanic crap like that. That's a satanic organization. That's a straw man being created. In the minds of people. Anybody that comes out and says, oh, we can give you diplomatic plates. Just come over here, we'll give you diplomatic plates. Or somebody comes in and says, oh, we're going to do a declaration of status. There's absolutely no such thing as a declaration of status. You either have a status or you don't. There's no such thing as a declaration of status. We've seen all the paperwork as a joke. Laugh, man, we have a good time with it. It's the biggest joke we've ever seen. There was one of them. Where was it? Anybody that says Keith spoke out of line. Anybody that says that, That's a dictatorship. What do you mean spoke out of line? I'm not your son. I don't have a line to speak out of. You don't set that line. That's my speech. I have intangible property to my own speech. You don't set the line, okay? You don't tell me, oh, you spoke out of line. That's a joke. All right. Anybody that sees something like this, just ask us. Lawful permit, a golden ticket licensing, all licentious activity. And then they put General Postmaster down here, UCC. This is not us. This is a complete joke. Somebody made that crap up. That's an MI6 PSYOP. MI6 PSYOP is going on right now in tactical sovereignty. Most of the members don't know it. Some of the ones that are running it do know it. They're creating a straw man, confusing everybody. An MI6 Foreign Intelligence Agency PSYOP is going on in Tactical Sovereignty Group on Facebook. That's what's happening. Just letting everybody know. It's been going on for years, so just realize that. I've been watching it since 2006. It started way before then. And every one of those people that get caught up in those PSYOPs that don't watch the Law of Nations and don't do all that stuff, they get caught up in it. And they end up going to jail because everything the PSYOP is designed to do is get you to break the law, to violate laws and do crazy things. Oh, I did a UCC1, so therefore I'm a secured party creditor. That has nothing to do with UCC, has nothing to do with secured party creditor, has nothing to do with anything. It's a complete joke. But people fall for it. You end up filing false documents. MI6 gets their courts, they come after you, and that's it. This is what's been going on in all the groups for a long time. Just realize it's there. Thanks for listening to the 129th broadcast of the T-ROH Show. We will see you next week, and we'll show you more about this MI6 operation, and we will start going over some of the paperwork that is being put out there every 6 months, which we all have, or we have most of it, and we'll show you what a joke that is and why you end up going to jail because of it, because you're violating the law every single time. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.